What is up, guys? Here we are with another EPL weekend breakdown. There were definitely some tasty fixtures this weekend. Got us started early with the goals in Manchester, ended with a couple tight ones on Sunday. Leo, how are we today?
Guten morning, everybody. Had a great weekend. Nice and solid. It was probably the best weekend so far in EPL for this season. So I guess you could say things are great.
Well, Guten Morgen is actually funny since the biggest game of the weekend was two German managers. I didn't know if you meant to do that, but if you did, solid effort. Solid effort. Got to respect it. So the look on your face says I wasn't trying to do it, but now that I've done it, I'll take all the credit.
The look on my face is like these things just sort of happen to me, you know? Like I don't mean to do some things, but they come out golden sometimes.
Golden. Okay, so I'm gonna hit share screen. We're gonna look at some results. We're gonna go from there. As we did with the preview, in the review, we're gonna leave Liverpool, Chelsea for the end because we don't want to step on the Sunday games. Okay, so as I mentioned, the Liverpool Chelsea game, another game that was really changed because of a red card was Man City Arsenal. It was already 2-0 City at the time, but then Arsenal's wheels just kind of fell off. You and I, Leo, were talking during this game, and we said it was about 75% Arsenal looking like crap and 25% of City being brilliant. And I think that that's a pretty good kind of judge of what went on. I mean, yeah, City played them off the pitch, but in a way, I feel like Arsenal allowed them to be played off the pitch. I didn't see any sort of organization, no game plan, no real continuity. I mean, City was out there practicing. I mean, and the only thing that makes it look good is they could say, we did it to Arsenal. But at what point, and this is really where I want to loop you in, at what point do we, and I think we actually have had this conversation, do we just say, it's not really that impressive that we did it to Arsenal? Everybody does it to Arsenal. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think not a lot of people are responsible these days. Mm-hmm. Clearly, you could see on Saturday morning there was something missing. They weren't up to par to the top 4, top 5 in the league like they've been in the past. Thierry Henry days. Those days are gone. Those days no longer exist. Aubameyang and company can't get it done like they did before. Saka is a strong player. Odegaard, even Xhaka, the red player, the red card player, they're all pretty solid, but there's something that's not clicking. There's something that's not making them score goals. The defense is all fucked up. City just sliced through butter through the defense, and they did it 5 times. They could have done it more times if we'll get to group a second, but they could have done it a lot more times, and it was just a dangerous game. City, I don't think did as well as they could have, but hopefully that's just showing that they're starting to get acquainted with each other. They're starting to warm up for the season. Hopefully that's not the best City that we're going to see for the season.
So, new rule here on the podcast, because apparently he's your fixation, you're allowed a minute on Jack Grealish, because I have nothing to say about him. You have 1 minute to say what you want about Jack Grealish. We'll move on.
Can I start now?
You can have your one. You know what? You have 2 minutes. I am watching 2 minutes on Jack Grealish, and then I'm done.
Okay.
I'm sick of talking about him, but you like him.
All right. So this weekend, I said we're not going to talk about Jack Grealish anymore. That's what I said. I said, fuck this guy. He has what it takes to be a good player at Villa. He doesn't have what it takes to be a good player at City. We're done with him. Put Jesus in, put De Bruyne in, get him out. Put him the last 15 minutes of the game and see what he does. because he can play the ball, he can step on the ball, he can get his head up and look, and he has some type of flash to him, but it's not the flash that City needs. It's not the flash that fits within a Pep Guardiola type of team. He needs to sit back. They don't need to start him anymore. He needs to sit back and look at how they play in a game and learn from them. Lukaku stepped in. He didn't need to learn from shit.
We're talking about
Cristiano Ronaldo's going to step in. He's not going to need to learn from shit. I got like half a minute left. You know, there's all these other players. Even Messi yesterday did more than he didn't need to learn from shit. He stepped in, made some changes to the game. He was able to make something happen. I'm done. I'm also done with Jack. Sorry, Jack.
Thank you. And my 2 seconds on him is you just put him in the conversation with two of the greatest players that have ever played the game. Oh, yeah, two of the greatest players that have ever played the game and a striker that scores 35 goals a season.
I put him in a conversation with expensive buys. I put him in a conversation with expensive buys.
That's the exact point. That's
my word. You're twisting my words like a good media would.
Leo. You did it because City made you do it because they gave him that big check. He shouldn't be in that conversation. He shouldn't be in that conversation. And you didn't do. I'm not.
That's not the conversation I'm having.
But Leo, what I'm saying, I'm agreeing with you that it's preposterous to put Jack Grealish in that.
I don't like how you're agreeing with me though, because 30 years down from now, you're gonna say, "Oh, I remember once where Leo put Grealish in the same conversation as Cristiano."
No. But because he shouldn't. And the only person who put
I don't know. So I need you to be specific. Twisting it in the future to say, "Oh, but Salah wasn't in there." But we're talking about buys for the 21 and 22 season, and Jack Grealish doesn't need to be part of that conversation.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. The only reason he's in that conversation is the money that City gave him, which is unfair. Which is unfair to him in a way, and it's kind of bullshit because going forward, he's just going to be looking in that picture. So going back to Arsenal, just to give some misconceptions or positivities, they have started with a hard schedule. They had Brentford at home in their first English EPL game, which now that we've seen what Brentford's done, they look like a solid enough team. They were never going to lose that game. Then they had to play Chelsea in their first game with Lukaku. Then they had to play Man City at the Etihad. So not the easiest start to a season. And they did score 6 goals, albeit against a seriously watered down West Brom team. They did score 6 goals in the EFL Cup. So I'm not going to sit here and say that Arsenal are the worst team in the league. We'll get to the table. We're not going to say that they're the worst team in the league. But on the same vein, they have a lot to prove. And sadly for Mikel Arteta, I don't think he'll be around to prove that. I mean, they went with their full strength lineup. I know they were down to 10 men by about minute 35. But even in those 35 minutes where they're at full strength, Man City, I mean, I said it to you, and I don't want it to really have tentacles from here. The best player for Arsenal in the first half when it was full strength was Ederson, because I mean, the irony of how our conversation ended on Friday into the first game on Saturday is just tremendous. Just the irony screams out as Ederson is passing the ball across his net. And if Arsenal had any attackers that woke up, it's 3-2 Arsenal. If they had any attackers that had any conscious of the game starting, Arsenal would have scored 3 goals that were directly because of Ederson. But they don't, and they're shit, and Man City walk the dog. So moving on to the next game, Villa Brentford. As I mentioned, Brentford has shown a lot through 3 games. They have allowed 1 goal. So I will double check the table when we get there, but I'm pretty sure Spurs have allowed none. Liverpool and Chelsea have allowed 1. and Brentford's allowed 1. So that means that Brentford, and again, small sample size, 3 games, they have shown pretty much elite defensive stability. And in this game, they did have a 1-0 lead through Ivan Toney, and then Villa scored a goal to level it. But the fact that Brentford can go to Villa and get a point, I mean, we might be, and again, early days here. We're through 3 games. But the way Brentford's looking, I mean, I don't know how much of an argument we're having about them being in like the relegation battle. But if they are in a relegation battle, 5 points after playing Arsenal, Crystal Palace, and Villa is huge for them. It's huge for them.
Yeah, I'm impressed. You know, they're a team that not a lot of people knew how they were going to do in this league. Or maybe, you know, the hardcore fans did. I had no clue. They're impressing me. They've gone what, Invictus, right? So far, no, they haven't lost.
Yeah, they haven't lost. They have a win. They have a win and 2 draw. A win and 2 draws. They have 5 points. Yeah.
I mean, that's a solid start. No matter for a team that just got into a higher ranking league. I think that's a solid start. So hopefully we'll see some more of that. We'll have to really test them against the tougher teams and see how they stack up against them. So far, a tie to what, 2 ties and 1 win. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's been against what?
Arsenal, Palace, and Villa.
And Villa. Yeah. I mean, you have your soft spot for Villa because they creamed Liverpool at the beginning of the season last season, and you got kind of like a PTSD on what they could do, maybe. But I don't think Villa is the toughest team, and I can't wait until a better team gets with Brentford and see what they're really made of.
Okay. Shots fired based on absolutely nothing. I like Villa.
Don't take it as a shot. I've just heard it from you.
I like Villa because they lost their best player and replaced him with 3 extremely capable alternates. I mean, Villa, and again, it's 3 games. And I was ready to say that Villa making those moves should have shown more in those 3 games. But when you get 100 million for Jack Grealish and you turn it into Emi Buendia, Leon Bailey, and Danny Ings, that's phenomenal business. Ings is a guy who scores 20 goals a season. Buendia was the most creative player in the championship. And Leon Bailey, while he's had some poor seasons, he was a super highly rated player coming up through Leverkusen. So getting those 3 players for 1 Grealish on a team that already looked solid last year, yeah, you lose Grealish. But at the end of the day, you give Ollie Watkins some respite up front by getting Ings. Buendia put up very similar creative numbers to Grealish. Yes, on a much smaller level, but also with much less talent. And then Bailey, as he grows into the team, that's a threatening option on the wings. So I look at Villa, I think I had them in the 6th or 7th range, and I still don't waver from that. They made these 3 big signings who need to bet into the team. Once that all flows together, I think Villa is going to be a very scary team. And I don't know what nonsense you were saying about a game that was a year ago, but that's not why I rate Villa highly at all. I rate them highly because they were a good team last year. They did great business. They have a goalie who's coming off of a heater this summer and was probably the best goalie in the league last year in Emi Martinez. That's why I rate Villa, because they're a good team. So I don't rate them because of a one-off game a year ago that doesn't matter for anything in this year whatsoever. So moving on to Brighton Everton. I have to give credit where credit's due. Everton played very well in this game. I believe that you were spot on. I was opposite. I think you had 2-0 Everton. I had 2-0 Brighton. Brighton showed absolutely nothing. Whatever good they did in the first two games was undone in this game. I passively watched this game. That's the best way to put it. And I just didn't see anything. Like, I was watching it because, number one, I don't like Everton, but number two, I wanted to see how Brighton played. Home game against a team that should be in or around their talent level, and they just got whooped. They got played off the pitch, and I just wasn't impressed by it. So whatever good vibes there were from Brighton, a 2-0 loss to Everton, I don't want to say it fully undoes it, but it doesn't help.
Yeah, this is the one that I did watch up until a certain point. Then I got bored because it was just superiority by Everton. There were some interesting things from Brighton. Lallana and Bissouma had some decent showings there in the middle. This kid Gray down the left-hand side of Everton impressed me. I didn't know much about him, but he really made it happen in a way where he could be a starting team. And what the announcers were saying is that this is the Everton that James needed last season. And what they're alluding to is more wing play. James didn't have a lot of people on the wings that could help him out. So they said, and Gray is showing that, Gray is showing a better skill, better play on the wings from Everton. And Richarlison is stepping up. Calvert-Lewin's finally, they're almost better without James, to be honest with you. But I'd like to see him in there in place of who? I have no fucking clue. But it'd be nice to see him play with this team and see what he can do with some fast runners on the wings, because he's good at playing those long balls behind the defense. And so far, the only player that has been able to match up to those is Calvert-Lewin, sort of. Richarlison sometimes, but they had really nobody in the middle that could play those balls. It was a good game. I expected it. And that's all I got to say.
Yeah, and Gray, that's a very interesting player to mention because he was kind of hit or miss at Leicester. Then he went to Germany. He was a complete waste. And now he's at Everton. So a lot of people panned Everton pretty hard for this one. Waste of money because they got him. They got Andrews Townsend. What are you doing? Gray has talent. I'm not gonna blow my load on, it's the third game of the season and Gray is showing something, because I have 3 years of experience of Damari Gray not being great, but they were good signs. It also has to be mentioned, maybe because I'm a Liverpool fan, that Richarlison is a complete and total fucking tit. I know you said something about him being close to 50 Premier League goals, and maybe that's because he was standing over the penalty, but I have seen children crying for their binky less than I've seen Richarlison starting a fight with his entire team for a penalty. Entire team. Like, he had to be restrained. This is a grown man who potentially the best team in Europe is looking at a 75 million pound move for crying over a penalty. Crying over a penalty in the third game of the season. Look, I know a lot about Rafa Benitez. I know a lot about Rafa Benitez as a Liverpool fan. That ain't going to fly with Rafa Benitez. He might bench Richarlison a couple games just for that, because he doesn't deal with dickheads like that. He just doesn't.
I'm gonna have to blame this one on toxoplasmosis, and this being a South American type of thing, because this is the type of shit that you see a lot in Copa Libertadores, where it's just a mess, and players' attitudes show, the refs allow it. There's fights in the middle of the game. the games stop. There's too much fireworks. There's people throwing quarters at the opposing teams when they're doing corners. It's disorganized. It's a lot of that. And I saw that with this image of Richarlison just kind of being a brat, not letting the penalty taker take it. It was something low of him to do. I respect him a little less. He's still a skilled player that can make things happen in the field, but that was shitty. That was just as shitty as seeing Neymar do some idiotic flops or any other player do a flop. I say Neymar because he's just, out there with him. But yeah, I didn't like that one bit. I could see some justification with if this was his path on to 50 goals in the EPL total, then I could see where I'd be a little pissed and I'd be like, man, let me take it. But I would step off the ball as soon as somebody would tell me no. I noticed that Calvert-Lewin left injured shortly after he scored that penalty. I want to say that Richarlison maybe saw that he was hurt and that he might as well just step out and not score a goal. Because I could see that also being some type of greedy forward shit, just him staying hurt just so that he can score that penalty kick. And I mean, it's all in his right to do so because he found that penalty kick. But still, it's like, I don't know. I didn't like that one bit.
So what I picked up there was chemical imbalance. Okay.
Toxoplasmosis is a known disease that's in cats and cat poo. And a lot of it, for some reason, concentrated in South America, in Brazil, given to its master. So what it does is a chemical imbalance that helps you, it doesn't help you, it just makes you do some kind of irrational decisions sometimes. People are more propense, is that how you say it, to drive motorcycles. People are just more
higher propensity.
Higher propensity to drive motorcycles, higher propensity just to seek adrenaline. And a lot of it comes from these cats for some reason. And it's rumored that the whole Brazilian national team, this is worldwide rumors, the Brazilian national team has all connections to toxoplasmosis.
Interesting.
Some Joe Rogan shit. That's where I heard it.
We learned something new today.
But
we learned something new today.
I can see where this type of thing makes you do some kind of just rush decisions like that. I'm going to go on a conspiracy here, the first conspiracy of Gang Gang on live air, and just say this has toxoplasmosis written all over it.
Okay, so we've learned something here today. Apparently, that explains why Neymar can't win a UCL with PSG, why Bobby Firmino can't score goals, and just because I need to boil the most piss in the world, why Allison thinks he can nutmeg defenders. Moving on to Newcastle Southampton.
Again, putting words in my mouth, but
boring.
I like where you're going with that.
I know. I was doing that just to be an asshole. Newcastle Southampton. Boring game. Can't say I watched it. 2-2. Better for Newcastle than for Southampton, but at the end of the day, this might be a shake hands. Thank you for the 1 point. I would assume Southampton are the more upset of the two teams, considering the way that they played against United, and then they can't get 3 points against Newcastle. Maybe I'm wrong about Newcastle. Maybe they aren't in as much of a relegation fight, but I mean, I don't know if you watched it. I didn't. I found out for the first time right now that the game finished 2-2.
The score was showing as I was watching the Everton game. I called out a Callum Wilson goal, which did happen. I could have gotten some really good points on some fantasy league on that one. I didn't see much though. I mean, I don't see much that I like about them. It could have been a good game. It probably was a better game than what I was watching. 2-2 is 4 goals, better than 2-0. But yeah, I didn't watch it. I wouldn't watch it.
Yeah. So
I had something better to watch.
this is the context, the content that we're here for. Uh,
Yeah, fuck this game.
So moving on to the next game, I have to say I called it. Norwich playing a very plucky game against Leicester. I mean, you and I were texting during this game, and I said, I told you Norwich was going to come out and they were going to be scary, and they were. And I also said Leicester was going to come back and win it, which they did. Left it very late, but they won it. So, I mean, I don't know how we feel about this. I feel like this matters more for Norwich than Leicester. Norwich really, you can't have a tougher start to the season than what they've had. I mean, Liverpool, City, Leicester to open the season. Welcome back to the big leagues. We're gonna throw you three nasty curveballs in the dirt. And I mean, they got demolished by Liverpool, demolished by City, and then this game, if they got demolished, they might as well have just cried back to the championship, and they didn't get demolished. They got beat. So at the end of the day, a loss is still a loss. 0-3 is still 0-3, but they showed a lot of promising things. I mean, Leicester, if Leicester lost this game or if Leicester drew this game, there would have been a lot of questions, particularly after the 4-1 loss to West Ham, but they got their points on the road. I'm impressed by that. Fighting from being down. Leo, some of your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, not only did you call it, I called it. We're all a happy family. You could have seen this coming from a mile away. I mean, you definitely did call the Norwich giving him a bloody nose, and I was impressed by that. I wasn't really thinking that, but at the same time, they have decent strikers. They have a decent offensive line. There's something dangerous there. Yeah. So I mean, I wish I would have watched this one too. I was watching the Everton game, but it's impressive. It's impressive that they got a goal. I'm glad Leicester is winning. Jamie Vardy scored a goal. I'm happy for that. I wish they do more of that, and hopefully that's more to come for the season.
Yep. Moving on to and that's really the feeling that you have to have on that game. I mean, you need to see more from Leicester. A lot of people like what they did in terms of the transfer market. Once they get to full strength, they'll probably even look better. Next game, and the last one we're going to talk about on Saturday for now, West Ham Crystal Palace. Has to look like 2 points missed for West Ham. I mean, you come out, you score 4 goals against Leicester, you're top of the table, you're coming in, all guns blazing, and you get a 2-2 game against a team that hadn't scored a goal yet. I mean, that's a kick in the teeth. Of course, great that Mikel Antonio scored another goal. He looks like he's the informed striker in the league, which is great for him. But man, if look, I'm not saying that West Ham are going to be in a top 4 fight or a title fight, but just if for nothing else, for good vibes, they needed the 3 points there. And they have to feel like they left that on the table.
Yeah, they should have won this one. End of story. I mean, you should always win against Crystal Palace. Most people do. Most teams do. They didn't. They should have. That's it.
Pretty cut and dry. So, I mean, there's nothing else that really needs to be said. Again, I was not watching that game as closely. I had the Everton game on. I had the Norwich Leicester game on. I mean, I saw that Antonio scored, which is great for him, but I honestly thought that West Ham were going to walk through this game. They didn't. And I think that is going to be something we see from West Ham a lot, particularly as the Europa League heats up and they have to play multiple games a week, it's going to be rough for them. It's going to be rough. I mean, I think I had them mid-table this year, maybe like 11th, 12th, and that's probably where they're going to end up. So skipping over the last game on Saturday, going to the Sunday games, Burnley Leeds, 1-1. I wasn't watching that game. I was watching the other 9:00 game, but good for both of them, I guess. I mean, Burnley played Burnley ball and Leeds went on the road and got a point. I mean, that could have been more for Leeds to have turned that point into 3 points. Burnley knows the way Burnley plays. And I will say this every time that we break down Burnley. Burnley play where they don't want to get beaten too bad by the top 6 teams. They want to draw against the middle, like 10 teams and beat the bottom 4 teams or the bottom 3 teams. That's how Burnley play. And that's how they stay in the league all the time. And congratulations, you drew against one of the middle 10 teams. So that's Burnley. That's how they stay in the league. And any points that they get above 1 point against the middle 10 teams is gravy. I guess now that I think about it, the math might not work out there because that would only be 29 points. But basically, that's where their mind frame is. Don't get beat too bad by the top 6. Play competitive against the middle 10. Beat the bottom 3. Congratulations. That's how Burnley's been in the Premier League for the better part of a decade.
Yeah, it's what do you call it? Deja vu from what we just talked about. It's a team that Leeds should have beaten Burnley. They didn't. Most teams should beat Burnley. I don't know. Rafinha did great. He needs to do better. He was really taking the game to him. The whole team was. I mean, Bamford. I'm gonna keep having an eye on Bamford because I'm really liking what he's doing. He's scoring goals. He's apparently dangerous. So I'm gonna check him out and see. For the rest of the season and see what he does.
Yeah, I think he had 18 goals last year. So he's not a slouch. He's not a slouch. Now, the last 2 games on Sunday, we can profile the fact that these are 2 teams who have had the opposite amount of luck. And I hate to say luck because I know there's skill that goes into it, we'll break down each game as they go. But you have Spurs, who are 3-0, only undefeated, or the only team with 3 wins in the league. 3-0, 3 goals scored, no goals allowed. And then in the other game, you have Wolves, who are 0-3, no goals scored, 3 goals allowed. So one has done the very minimum. One has allowed the very minimum to have their records. But Spurs, of course, won this game 1-0. I mean, Son put in a great cross. It was a cross. And I mean, it was just in such a great place that either you, as a goalie, go for you can't win as a goalie there. Because if you commit, Dyer scores. If you don't commit, Sonny curves it in. So great on him. Great cross on him. And that was it for Spurs. But the big thing is, that is it for Spurs. I mean, I know 1-0 against City. You could say, oh, it's City. A win is a win. But then 1-0 against Wolves, where Wolves outplay you. And then 1-0 at home against Watford. Now, again, I do have to say that while acknowledging wins are wins. It doesn't matter if it's 5-0 like City or 1-0 like Spurs. A win is a win. It may not impress me. It may not light me up, but I mean, it gets it done, and they're sitting on top of the table.
To add to that irony between Tottenham and Watford, it didn't happen in this game, but in the past two games, I felt like Watford has had the most possession and has been bringing the game to their opponents. They
Yeah.
haven't come out on top. What?
Wolves. You mentioned Wolves. I was talking about Wolves, not Watford.
Oh,
Yeah, I was talking about Wolves.
oh,
But
well,
Watford has have also played well. But I was talking about with the 3-0 near it.
oh,
It was Wolves and
sorry.
okay.
I've been watching these two teams, and it's that Watford is a team that brings it to you, and they haven't come away with luck in the past. They've gotten scored on and they've gotten beaten on, but they're a team that I like to watch just because they have activity in the middle. They can play some good balls up to the forwards, and they're offensive. They got claws. Tottenham is Tottenham. They got some good players, enough to do the minimum and still win, which is what they like to do. In this game, they held possession more. They dominated Watford. They really, I would say, deserve it. But I'm very critical of Tottenham because they do that. They do the bare minimum and they win and they're good. And I'm just spicy about it because they shouldn't. They shouldn't do the bare minimum. But whatever, they have some skill. Son scored. This guy on the wing,
Bergwijn.
Bergwijn. I was impressed by him. He did pretty well. Dele Ali. I liked him a lot. Yep. And yeah, I like that. I agree with you. That wasn't a shot on goal. That was a cross. I think as a goalie, you commit, man. It's better to commit and run somebody through with your knee and hit somebody in the jaw than to not commit and to allow that goal. You come out with both of your fists, just like this, as they teach you, and you just punch the shit out of that ball. You don't even, I don't see another play around it. I don't see what he did as an option. He just stood. And what was he waiting for? Somebody to knock it in? Defender to knock it out?
He thought that Eric Dyer was going to commit and he was going to get a header shot right at him, but it was a really, really good cross. So you have to assume that when a ball is crossed that well, if you don't protect your outside post, it's going to sneak in the corner. It was a really good cross.
Yes, it was.
So
yeah, that's a touchy one. That's a very sensitive one.
And I do also need to comment on the fact that the man who suddenly recommitted to his club, that Tottenham is home, and I commit myself to the club, looked like shit today. He looked like shit at the end of the Wolves game, or I'm sorry, looked like shit yesterday. Yep. Looked like shit in the Wolves game, looked like shit yesterday. None other than Sir Harry Kane. So, I mean, I would assume that we are far past the drama, but I mean, I also don't know if we're past the drama. I don't know if he's just delaying the inevitable. I am interested to see when some of their signings get bedded in, because I like Brian Hill, I like Christian Romero, get them in the team. I just don't trust them long run. I mean, I got into, and we'll talk about this a lot more when we break down the Liverpool game. I got into some conversations with some of my Liverpool fan friends, and they're like, oh my God, this Tottenham team, they scare me. Tottenham doesn't scare me. There's a reason that there's the lads, it's Tottenham meme. They just don't do it for me. I mean, they're a good team. I'm not going to sit here and say that they're a totally shit team, but to put them in the Liverpool, City, Chelsea, United, even Leicester group, they're just not there. I'm sorry, they're just not there. And that's tough to say when they're going into the break with the most points, but I mean, it is what it is. Sorry. I mean, if Anybody who supports Tottenham watches this, I am sorry. I do not believe in your team. Sorry. So that's that. And talking about teams that I don't believe in, I will give this, and maybe this will pivot to Liverpool Chelsea commentary, because when we get into Liverpool Chelsea commentary, I have house on fire among my Liverpool fan friends. And I said this to them yesterday. I said, imagine if we started our season by kicking the shit out of Leeds and then drawing to Southampton and struggling to beat Wolves. And imagine we did that and we spent 200 million pounds in transfers.
Keep going.
Now, I mean, because that's what United did. Yeah, they beat the shit out of Leeds, but then you draw against Southampton in a game that you need to come back in, and you squeak a win over Wolves. So, and I understand that, of course, Cristiano Ronaldo is not there yet, but you have Sancho, you have Varane. You could sit there and say all day, you've only allowed two goals all season, but you should beat the life out of Southampton and Wolves. I know
not Wolves. Southampton, yes. Wolves could have done better for sure, but I wouldn't say beat the living shit out of Wolves. You beat the living shit out of Brighton and Southampton and Burnley, teams like this. Wolves have looked good. It's going to be tough to beat Wolves this season. It's going to be tough to not draw any goals against Wolves, especially if they're at home. You got to think this is an away goal. I'm not justifying for why Bruno played like shit or Pogba played like shit or basically the whole team, but I'm just saying it's a tough one to win against a good Wolves with Traore on fire away. Without really a decent striker, which, we all know.
Striker. They had Cavani. I'm pretty sure they had Cavani, and then they had Greenwood on the pitch, who scored the goal. So without a striker,
Greenwood's good. Greenwood's good, but no pun intended, he's still green. And Greenwood's good, but he's not forward material, Obviously, that's what we're talking about right now.
Greenwood's been their best player this season.
He's been impressive.
He's been their best player this season.
But that doesn't say much because they haven't really been playing that great.
Greenwood.
Their best player is Pogba. Their best player is Bruno, but they haven't done much. Greenwood, you can say he's the best player because he's been doing the most. He's had the most activity, but he's not their best player.
Greenwood is, I think that them getting Ronaldo, and this is just the way that I feel, is going and stunting. Well, you know what? I can't even say it stunts Mason Greenwood's growth because Ronaldo isn't going to be around a long time. But I don't think United are in a place where they can compete for a title, compete for a Champions League, and Ronaldo would be the good final piece for that. Like if he had went to City, and I think we had this discussion. If we didn't, maybe we had it in a different. Maybe we did. I forgot if we had the conversation. But Ronaldo is not a stand in the middle number 9. He's a winger. He's a winger.
As of when?
As of his entire career. I mean, he was so good. He was so good at Real.
Is he a winger at Juventus?
He would cut in. He would cut in from the left. And the difference between Juventus Ronaldo and Madrid Ronaldo, other than he was older at Juventus, was at Madrid, he had Benzema to play off of, and he could do he could do whatever because Benzema would hold down the middle and he would cut in. Alvaro Morata is not the same threat for Juventus. What I'm trying to get at is if he had went to City, he could have been the cherry on top of a Champions League winning side. He is the guy to get them over the hump. He was supposed to be that for Juventus. He was supposed to be the guy who took Juventus from Serie A champions to Champions League winners. And if that's what his role is, he's not going to have that role at United. Now, of course, you could clip this and come back in May and say, oh, look, they won the league. And oh, look, they won the Europa League because they win the Champions League. Maybe they go down and they win the Europa League. They win the Champions League. But I just don't see it. And I mean, if it means you're going to miss out on a year or two of Mason Greenwood getting top minutes, I feel like that's not great. But I mean, it's fun. You bring Ronaldo back. You don't have him go to City. I mean, at a minimum, if you look at it that way, it might be worth it to United to do something. Maybe United look at it this way. Number one, great for ticket sales. Number two, this is our most effective way to stop City from winning things. Because we're not going to do it on the field. We don't want Man City to win things. So we might as well get Ronaldo so they don't get Ronaldo. So then either Chelsea or Liverpool win the league, and then PSG or Bayern win the Champions League. So this is our way to fuck Man City. We'll just buy the guy that they were going to buy to win everything with. And you know what? I wouldn't be terribly mad if I'm a United fan. I mean, I kind of think that that's a shitty way to say, oh, well, this is how we beat City, but it's effective.
I think it's a lazy buy, but I'm glad it happened. I wouldn't say I'm a United fan. I like United a lot. I've watched them over the years. I've watched them because of Cristiano. When I first started watching them, it was because of that team, Cristiano included. And I'm happy he's here. I think he can I think he can play a number 9 role. I think that's what he's been doing in Juventus. I mean, originally he's a winger. He likes to run. He likes to take players on. I don't think he's that type of player anymore. He knows that too. But he's fit. He's dangerous in the air. He can hit the shit out of a ball, free kicks. And sometimes players just need somebody like that upstairs, just static, just a point of reference. And if he can be a point of reference forward, like a pivot to a Pogba that's going to slam it in, a Bruno that's going to follow him up with a Portuguese flavor right there. He has plenty of players to Sancho as well. He has tons of players that he can play off of. You mentioned Benzema, how he can do a quick 1-2. He can do plenty of 1-2s with people here, in my opinion. And I think they got a pretty decent team. I think their back line is starting to get solid, more solid than we've ever seen it, especially Varane back there. Varane, Maguire, Shaw, Wan-Bissaka, that's pretty solid. The one hole that I saw this weekend, a lot of people, not just me, is fucking Fred. Fred was less than stellar. Fred needs to get the fuck out of there. I don't know what he's doing there. And you can see it a mile just by watching this game. You can see it.
So, and it's interesting you mentioned Fred and how they're shit. You know what? I'll let you finish your point. And then I had something to say about Fred. I just don't want to forget about Fred. Continue. Sorry.
No, that's all I got. I mean, just imagine a combination between Edison Cavani and Cristiano Ronaldo somehow making it happen. I'm excited for that to happen. And I think Cristiano can do it. I don't think he can do it like before, where he was the Greenwood type of player, where he just ran through the wing, took on somebody and got a clear shot on goal and scored. I think he's going to be more of Van Nistelrooy type of player, somebody that's up there as a poacher, can get by a player on a quick little dime, turn on a dime and score. I think that's how he's going to do it. Fred.
Yeah. So Fred, obviously they're trying to play Fred as a number 6. That is their anchor point, because obviously they don't love Donny van der Beek, which was a 40 million pound waste then. And we're talking about how they got Cristiano Ronaldo, and it looks like Ronaldo's going to be about 35 million pounds. So looking at, and this again could pivot directly into the conversations we're going to have with Liverpool and their poor transfer business. If you have 35 million pounds that you're going to spend, and you look at that team, do you really think that 35 million pounds is better spent on a 36-year-old to fill a bloated attack line, or should you spend it on a true defensive mid that can replace Fred?
You can go many ways with it. Yes, I mean, you got a point there, but you can also do a 4-3-3. And James has been rumored to be out the door. So if you could do a 4-3-3 and just stack heavily on offense, I think the defense is going to be just fine. With Sancho and I mean, you're right. They're going to be without a 6. They're going to be somebody without.
No, they're going to play with a 6. They're going to play with Fred. They're going to play with Fred as the 6, and I feel like, and a lot of United fans even feel like that's going to be their undoing. Fred in the 6.
Yes, but what I'm trying to get at is that's going to be their only undoing I can see. I don't see much where the team is lacking except for right there. And I saw it this weekend, but everywhere else they look good. And yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo is just going to add a cherry on top to the offensive play, but Fred's still going to be there. He's still going to be lacking. Hopefully he can come around. That's that's the only thing you can hope for, unless you can do something crazy here in the transfer window. But yeah, I don't know.
So we have talked about all of the appetizers. We cleared them out. We got a lot of appetizers. We got mozzarella sticks. We got calamari. We went to a nice Italian dinner. We got the mozzarella sticks. We got the calamari. We got some garlic knots. We got some good bread. We maybe had a little wine. We're feeling good. But you know what, Leo? It's time for the main course. It's time for us to roll up our sleeves, loosen the belt a little bit, because we got a nice shrimp scampi coming out. Maybe I got a chicken parmesan. It's good to go. Liverpool versus Chelsea. So, of course, 1-1 finish, down to 10 men. I've teased enough around some opinions on the Liverpool side. And I think I said this in another group chat we had. Chelsea were better offensively in the first half, defensively in the second half. The way that I look at it, and this is not just as a Liverpool fan, because you could even see non-Liverpool fans that said this, if the red card had happened in the 40th minute instead of the 45th minute, Liverpool get at least another goal in the first half, because where Chelsea was mentally after that, they weren't focused. Everybody was all over the place. They were mad. They were irritated. They hated the referees. They were mad at each other. And if Liverpool, and of course, they just got a man sent off. If they had to play even 5 more minutes, Liverpool would have hit them on a counter and scored another goal. And then we're talking about a totally different game. But because it was literally the last kick of the first half, they went into the dressing room, talked about it, made some bold tactical moves. They bring on Thiago Silva and they bring on Mateo Kovacic, and they shut up shop. Which, I mean, it really, if you look at it, Chelsea beat them offensively in one half, defensively in the second half, and then they kind of out tactically played them as well. So, I mean, you could say that Chelsea is happy with the result, but you can also say if Chelsea outplayed them offensively, then outplayed them defensively, and then outplayed them tactically, maybe you won 3 points. I mean, okay.
Continue. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say, if you beat, I mean, in the first half, and I'm totally biasly watching it as a Liverpool fan, I thought Chelsea should have had 2 or 3 goals. They should have. I mean, Chelsea were doing everything humanly possible to get behind Liverpool's defense, and they should have got 2 or 3 goals. Also, I have no earthly idea where it was a corner. Like, I don't know who it went off of. Maybe it was bad commentary because I was listening to a Liverpool fan channel commentary rather than NBC commentary, and maybe they specified it better. No idea who the ball went off for a corner. I mean, Chelsea deserved to score goals. Chelsea deserved to score goals. I just don't know where the corner was to get that. And I do also have to say, outstanding take for the corner. I mean, Kai Havertz, you put that up top where nobody's touching it. That was beyond outstanding by him. So I don't want to take 1 ounce of credit away from the finish. I also don't know why in the high holy fuck we are man marking there as Liverpool, but we were, and Havertz made a great move. I don't know. What are some of your thoughts?
I think it was a lucky header. I think that all those goals that you score like that are 100% skill, but you have to be hoping for a lot of factors to be there. You have to be hoping for the goalie to be off his line just enough so you can flick it above him. You have to be confident enough that the goalie is covering the first post instead of the second post, which is an error. He should have been covering the second post, I think, and maybe had a couple players on that first post, but he decided to go there. I mean, it was a combination of opportunity, luck, and skill, and he deserves all the credit for that. But not for 1 second you should think that that was a shot that he meant to do and place there on purpose. It's a hard shot, and he's, I don't want to give him 100% credit because a lot of it has to do with just, having a little luck.
Oh yeah. No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So there was yeah.
I got more, but I want to say that you're breaking the game down like a manager would after you had a great sales quarter, and you're saying, okay, but if you wouldn't have had this sale the first of the month, then none of the other quarter would have been okay. At the end of the day, they did great. You're saying that Chelsea had a better game in the first half offensively, a better half defensively in the second half. Well, no shit. They got a fucking red card. They couldn't do anything else but defend in the second half. You're saying that Chelsea could have won it. Chelsea could have won it. Chelsea had a really good showing from Lukaku, from all of the team. But you have to remember who is in the back for Liverpool. They had Van Dijk, Matip, Robertson, Alexander-Arnold. That's a tough team to break. And they not only play a very good defense, they play a low line, which is tough for Lukaku because he's used to just taking players on a run. And if they play a low line, then he can't have much space to run. What else? I don't think Liverpool didn't play a great game at all. I think Salah and Mane did better than Firmino. Firmino was lacking for me. I think that they got handled, and it was disappointing because I wanted Liverpool to finish them off after they got the red card, after they got the player down. I wanted Liverpool to bring it home, and they didn't, and they could have. I feel like, especially being down. How could you have the best players in the whole world and not finish a team off when you have almost 60 minutes to finish them off and they're down and they're hurting? It's not like they got the greatest back in Christensen, Azpilicueta, and Rudiger. Rudiger was decent, but man, that's for you to win. That's low-hanging fruit. And with the rest of the season to go, and you have one of these teams with running on 3 legs, you got to knock them out. That's it. Good show from Allison. That was a good goalkeeping from Allison. I didn't see his mistakes that I was talking about last time. So that was good.
So I feel like there are different games that you have to talk about here. So in the first half, obviously it was 11v11, and there you have, I actually think, and this is kind of a perverse way of looking at it, if that game would have stayed 11v11, Liverpool would have had a better chance for a win. Of course, Chelsea would have had a better chance for a win, but I think Liverpool would have also had a better chance for the win. And of course, the entire game frame changed with the red card, which opens up the bigger discussion. And I want your opinion on this. So, second half, of course, Chelsea played 10 men behind the ball, or 9 men behind the ball. I mean, if you look at the positional map, Romelu Lukaku was basically a defensive mid. Like they put everybody behind because they knew they were down people. And actually, I don't want to say surprisingly, because Chelsea are still a talented team, when Mendy went long, which was the only time that Chelsea got an attempt to attack, Lukaku still did play down a couple balls pretty well. I mean, also, side note, Lukaku was pretty well handled by Van Dijk and Matip, particularly Matip. You can't say a bad word about Joel Matip. I mean, he's a great defender, just needs to stay healthy, although he never stays healthy. So the bigger conversation then is Liverpool's performance in the second half. So as I said, I have been through painful discussions over the past 24 hours or 36 hours with some of my Liverpool supporter friends. And they say Liverpool needs a new forward. And you mentioned Bobby. Bobby is hurt. And that's why he had to come off early. He was getting a scan for an injury. We still don't have word back. So that's why he was kind of off it. And then that was also why Diogo had to come on earlier. Bobby's hurt. So I don't know if he was feeling that the whole first half. I don't know when he was feeling it, but he came off in like the 41st minute, which is a weird time period to come off because it's easy to say just have him come off at halftime, but he's hurt. So it's not tactical, it was an injury. So maybe if Bobby's healthy and you bring on Diogo in the 60th, that's a change of pace. But even more so, hearing a lot of Liverpool supporters saying, you need a new attacker, you need a new attacker, you need a new attacker. My opinion on that is you're not going to take Sadio Mane out of that game. Klopp just doesn't do that. What I felt was that you, especially against a 10-man team, you take out Fabinho, move Henderson to the 6, bring Thiago in like the 55th or 60th minute, and have Thiago and Harvey Elliott run at the defense. Try to overcommit men and open up opportunity, because this crossing into the box bullshit hasn't worked. Liverpool do not know how to handle a low block. So my long way around to my question for you. Watching the second half of Liverpool and watching how Liverpool have handled low blocks in general, when you look at that team, does it need a midfielder who runs at the defense when they're facing a low block, or an attacker to change up the front line when they're facing a low block?
Midfield all day. I say Salah and Mane are perfectly fine up there, and Firmino, he's great. And but that third forward,
or Jota, or Diogo, because remember Diogo was in it that game.
Diogo's a baller, but I think Diogo could probably even play a false nine, or I think he's skilled enough to play attacking midfielder, or just like a drawn back forward to let Mane and Salah do their thing. I think. If that's too crazy, then
no, it's not at all.
I don't know. I think Elliott could even play that role. Elliott's highly skilled. I like how he plays, and I think he can probably play attacking forward, center midfield as well. I don't know, but they need more midfielder than they need forwards because Salah and Mane just kill it.
I just think that when you face a low block,
What do you mean
especially
low block?
like a team that's going to play like
Park the bus.
Park the bus. When you play a team, especially a team that's down a man, your job in that type of game is to commit as many men to the ball as possible. If you're okay.
So getting back to your question, I want to change my answer because you're asking me, do they need a forward more? Do they need a middle more? They need somebody like Firmino. Somebody like Firmino is a person that can play both roles, that he knows how to step away to let the forwards do their thing. And he also knows when to come and draw the ball in as a forward to bring it up top. And somebody that can do decent plays 1-2. So it's a combination. It's like a forward center midfielder fusion, somebody that can really touch the ball and has a decent touch. Hopefully a left-footed player.
But isn't that what they brought Thiago in for?
Thiago would be excellent for that. But Thiago doesn't convince me all the way for some reason, man. I know Thiago is world class. Okay. But Thiago, I think, can sometimes maybe play a little too selfish. Maybe sometimes, I don't know. There's something about Thiago that just doesn't scream danger for me, you know?
Oh, I mean,
I'd be more secure if he stepped back and handled things more on the defensive side and distribution side. I'd like for all plays to start with him, but he's not dangerous enough for me to put him up top so that I can just
well, he wouldn't be up top. He wouldn't be up top.
Well, up top, like in the middle to forward.
Well, I mean,
attacking middle.
That's what Thiago was brought in for, is his ability to run at defenders and take men on. So when you have a guy like that, that's his skill. His ability is to take on defenders and then run.
I don't see him do that though.
Great passes. That's pretty much all he did at Bayern. Take a look back at the Champions League final in 2020 when they played PSG. All he was doing was skinning PSG's midfield.
Has he been doing that for Liverpool? Because what he did for Liverpool this weekend was sort of like a Gundogan.
Yeah, which is not what he's supposed to be doing. Which is skill. But that's part of my issue. You're speaking to what my issue is. My issue is you have a guy like Thiago who could take on defenders. You have a guy like Harvey Elliott who is desperate to take on defenders. Let them do that. Don't have them spraying passes. Don't have them taking long balls on. Give them the ball. Let them run at defenders, because when you're down to 10 men, when you're facing a 10-man side, they're already down defenders. So if you make two people commit to one runner and they're already down one, that means somebody is wide open. And especially Thiago. If Thiago made Thiago Silva and Antonio Rudiger commit to something, Thiago has the passing ability. So in my mind, I see Thiago Alcantara running at the center backs. They have to converge on the ball, and then him dinking it over to a wide open Mo Salah, Sadio Mane, or Diogo Jota. I see that all day.
He'd be killer up top, but I'm concerned because Thiago Silva is just a little too clean. He doesn't like to get in spaces where he's a 50-50 ball. I'm
saying as an example. I'm not saying
I like to see that.
But that's not what Liverpool do. And I've been in a battle over the last 36 hours about how Liverpool need a new attacker and Liverpool need this. And we would have taken off Mane. First of all, we would not have taken off Mane because We wouldn't have. We've already taken off one attacker. We're not taking off another. And I even went as far to say, if you're facing a low block who knows that all you do is cross the ball into the box, even if you had Erling Haaland, they know you're crossing the ball into the box. They would put three men on Erling Haaland. That's all Liverpool do. It's like passing against a brick wall and assuming you're going to get the ball in. It's not going to work. And I've been dealing with idiots the last few days just saying, oh, we need a new attacker. We need a new attacker. We need a new attacker. A new attacker would have won the game. Blah, blah. No, a new attacker is needed for Liverpool, but it is needed for depth. It is needed for the games against the lesser teams. So then Mo, Sadio, Bobby, Diogo don't have to play. You don't need them for a game against Burnley. You don't need them for a game against Brighton or Newcastle. You don't need them for those games. You could start if they get Rafinha. You could start Rafinha in that game. If they get Jeremy Doku from France, you could start him in that game. You don't need to start your top guys in those games. And then, of course, there's AFCON and there's FIFA qualifiers and stuff like that. I don't think a new attacker would have helped. If Liverpool would have continued with their game plan of low block, we're going to throw crosses in, a new attacker doesn't help for that game.
No, I don't think Firmino should have even played injured. I think what you're saying, you don't start Firmino. You maybe start Thiago there, maybe start Elliott there and Thiago for Elliott. I don't know. If he's injured, he definitely showed it. And that was one of their downfalls.
Right.
Salah coming off. Mane coming off. I didn't like that sub either.
People were saying Mane should have came off. It was so a lot of people really lost their mind because the late substitute was Andy Robertson off, Kostas Tsimikas on, and it's like, 86th minute, we need a goal, and we're bringing in our backup left back, which I think was more of Andy was done, and Kostas was at least there to give us legs to get to the end of the game. Andy was done. He was coming back off an injury, and I think he just couldn't make it to the end. So I don't know.
That was a sub.
That was weird. Yes.
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah. So disappointed. Liverpool has to finish these. Every team should be able to finish these if they want to call themselves a top contender. Yeah. You had an injured little deer.
Yeah.
Ready to be pounced on.
So we're running long, so we're just going to do a quick analysis of the table. And just to remind everybody, no games next weekend. We are on an international break. So as you look at the table, there are 8 teams. Yes, 8 teams that haven't won yet. 3 teams that haven't gotten a point yet. And for the first time ever, we have the North London teams on opposite sides of the table, Arsenal at the bottom and Tottenham at the top. 2 teams have scored 10 goals, City and United. 1 team has allowed 10 goals in Norwich. Norwich and Arsenal both have a -9 goal difference, which is pretty grody. City have a +9 goal difference. Tottenham have a +3, of course, which would put them 7th in the table on goal difference. But of course, they are first because they're undefeated and they've won all their matches. You have 5 teams that are all tied on 7 points. So you have a lot of clutter in the middle of the table right now, or in the upper half of the table right now. What that you see here sticks out to you?
Man, I'm heartbroken for Wolves. I'm disappointed in this Leicester start. I'm keeping my eye on Brentford. And if I want to go top of the table with it, I'm surprised that Tottenham's up there and it's not a City Liverpool. Manchester United's doing good, but it's not even worth for me to talk about it because it's just so early into the season, But that's why I want to talk about the losers more because that's astounding to me to see Arsenal down there and to see the Wolves down there. It's heartbreaking for the Wolves. For Arsenal, I mean, fuck them. They can stay down there. They need to get their shit together. And who else do I see?
I just have to comment because it's hilarious. Tell an Arsenal fan that in game week 4, you're playing Norwich and it's the 19th and the 20th team playing each other.
Oh my God.
Ouch.
That's embarrassing.
Major ouch.
That's bad.
So obviously, not obviously, but the biggest game of game week 4 when we come back is going to be Leicester against Man City. And that game will be.
We gotta leave this for the preview for the.
We will, but I just want to let us know, but why doesn't it easily say where the game, whatever. It doesn't easily say where the game is. And I am a big, it's at Leicester. Of course. It's right on the top. So it's at Leicester. We'll leave that for the game week 4 preview. Yeah. So we just do quick winners and losers of the week. Who is your winner of the weekend?
The winner of the weekend is Tuchel.
Okay.
Tuchel got lucky. Tuchel evaded and dodged a bullet, and he came away with a point where he shouldn't have.
Okay. I am also going to go with a manager, and I am going to go with Nuno Espiritu Santo at Tottenham. Not only is the team that he managed on top of the table, but the team that he left while they're on the bottom of the table have only allowed 3 goals. And eventually things are going to get towards the norm. And as we do these previews, you'll see that Wolves' schedule lightens up here a little bit. They had tough matches to start the season. I mean, they probably had the toughest 3-game start to the season. I mean, they had Leicester, then they had Spurs, then they had United. And to come through that, only allowing 3 goals. Yeah, they got no points, but only allowing 3 goals is pretty impressive. So Nuno's got to feel pretty good. And we've talked about it now on 3 consecutive recaps. We like Wolves. I mean, it would be nice if they got points. It would be great it would be even better if they got wins, but we like the way they play. So I think there's a lot of good things for Nuno. We're going to do losers. I'll start with the losers. And I think the biggest loser of the weekend is going to be. I got to go Sadio Mane. I mean, I know that's kind of lazy, but that game was crying out for a winner for Liverpool. And I know Mane has a goal this year already, but he didn't look good on Saturday. He hasn't looked his same self. And I mean, in the second half, you need to show something. And he's diving on the floor trying to get penalties. If you're going to be that guy, you need to just take the ball and you need to be the one taking players on. I know that I said you have to have midfielders taking players on, which, yeah, you kind of do. But on the other side, if you're Sadio Mane, and I know I'm giving kind of a scapegoat to Mo Salah, but I mean, just the way they play, Sadio Mane is more of a take a guy on winger. Be that guy. Be that guy. Take the ball, drop off of your position. If you're looking at that game and you're looking at the fact that Chelsea's playing a low block, get outside the 18-yard box, take the ball earlier and beat a defender. And Mane just didn't have that impetus. And it's been going on a long time. And in a game like this that was screaming for a goal, big game against Chelsea, Mane didn't show up. So I got to give him my loser.
You talk about lazy picks for the loser. I'm going to go with the laziest of them all. Scroll down all the way to the bottom of this table, and you will see a sad little manager who I think just, we might not see a lot of him extremely soon. How about that? Mikel Arteta is the loser for me, and I'm not happy about it. You never like to see an old player become manager and then do badly, but unfortunately, I don't think there's a way around this one. They need to either get a win. Who's their next game? Let's talk about, if we're going to talk about next game.
Norwich.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I remember. Okay. So this is like one too many final straws.
Yeah.
If you don't win this one, then for sure you're gonna lose all the fans. You've already lost half of them. You're gonna lose the rest of them by losing next weekend.
So I will leave it here with this question. If I set the over-under at December 1st, are you saying before or after December 1st, Mikel Arteta gets fired?
Oh, I'm saying before. I'm saying he gets fired within the next couple of weeks. I'm saying before what month? Before October.
So you think next month? So you think I might even take it a step further and say
this week.
If he does not beat Norwich, if that's a draw, they sack him. They sack him.
Interesting. All right.
Sack him. So I will stop the share and we will go on from there. Leo, any final recap thoughts?
I'd like to mention Traore. I'd like to mention Lukaku. I'd like to mention all those forwards, offensive players that are bringing the game to their opponents. That's the games that I want to watch, man. I don't care if Wolves is losing. If they're at least trying hard as I see Traore trying, then, and if they're tying it, if they're trying as hard as Lukaku's trying. I'm missing a lot of players, I'm sure. But those were the two that stuck out for me, that whenever they grabbed the ball, it was like, put your phone down. Don't do anything else. Look at these two players. Take the ball and possibly do something dangerous. And that's why I wake up at 7 every morning on Saturdays to watch this type of shit. That's it.
And I agree on both of them. Traore has looked electric this year, and Lukaku does add an element to Chelsea's game. But if we're going to say that Lukaku adds an element, that does then have to say Joel Matip was incredible this weekend then, because Lukaku was trying to live on his outside shoulder, and there was more than enough times where Matip just didn't let it happen. I mean, there were plenty of times where Chelsea said, we are going to, especially in the second half, when it was the only offense they had, throw the ball up to Lukaku and hope the ball drops down for a counter press. And Matip gave the Dikembe Mutombo finger. Not in my house.
No.
Not in my house. No. So you have to give credit to him for that. But yeah, I mean, Lukaku, especially against lesser teams, Chelsea's going to pump him pretty good, because when he's not going against elite center backs, he's going to run over them, and he's going to win so many balls, and it's just going to open up opportunities for Hudson-Odoi, for Pulisic, for Werner, for Havertz, for all of these wingers for Chelsea who were a little off it last year. They're going to look so good because Lukaku opens up stuff for him. So it's very exciting to watch because through 2 games, I've seen what they want to do with Lukaku. And Tuchel's a very good manager. He is very tactically astute, and he's going to do some fun things. So we'll wrap up there. I mean, another nice long 90 minutes of EPL talk. I guess we wanted to get all of our talking out after we don't have games this weekend. But Leo, always a great time, and I'll get at you later.
Thank you very much. We'll talk
Later.
again.